Welcome to Sports Econ 101, the show where we discuss sports topics from a business perspective. I'm your host, Edward Brown, along with my co-host, Vern Glenn of CBS affiliate KPIX-TV in San Francisco, and Russell Jackman. And at each commercial break, we're going to ask a sports trivia question. Today's trivia theme is random football players. And let me just see. Okay, you will... Okay. You'll at least have heard of these guys. No Bronco Nagurski stuff from the 1940s. Don't worry.
All right.
I always love to tease Russ because I know he's like, oh man, you get all these things from yesterday.
Hey, the other day I was actually talking to a friend of mine about Pudge Heffelfinger.
Who was
the very first pro football player, the first football player to get paid.
I remember hearing the name Pudge, but I don't remember his last name.
Well, there's Pudge Rodriguez, but Pudge
Heffelfinger. No. I mean, Pud Galvin. That's the old baseball player from the 1800s.
I'm glad I didn't name my kids Pudge.
No, yeah. In fact, it's interesting because one of the things I want to talk about in the next segment, you guys have ever heard of Rube Waddell?
No.
Hall of Fame pitcher, born in 1876, died in 1914. So he was only like 31 years, 35 years old? Or how old is that? 38 years old. And he was quite a character. And I want to just go through a few little stories. And I'm wondering, how come we can't have another character like that in sports? Because this guy was one for the ages.
And he played till 1914, or he left us.
I think he retired and then he passed on because 1876. So in 1900 he would have been 24, and then he played for another so many years. He actually started in the 1890s. All right, stay with us. This segment of Sports Econ 101 is sponsored by Pacific Private Money, providing mortgage investments currently yielding over 7.5%, secured by real estate. Doesn't get any more conservative than that. Check them out at pacificprivatemoney.com. Welcome back to Sports Econ 101. Edward Brown here, along with Vern Glenn and Russell Jackman. So the first thing I wanted to ask is, now that it looks like Tim Tebow, he's been released by the Jaguars, right?
Correct.
Okay.
And nobody's picked him up.
That was my question. Do you think that any team will pick him up?
No. Okay. No. I mean, there's always
next stop. WWE. Next stop is the WWE.
I mean, there's always, I guess, hope, but as we record this show, rosters have to get down to 80, and it has to get down to even further than that after the weekend, and it's just there's just no room. Although, I mean, there's now if you're quarterback Josh Rosen, who was released by the 49ers last week, but then picked up by the Atlanta Falcons, I guess that can happen, but he's a former number 1 draft pick. So that's why he gets a lot of chances, and quarterbacks that can quickly learn a system are at a premium. So
wasn't he a number 1 pick when he won like the 2 years in a row at Florida?
I don't know if he went in the very first round when he started off with, I believe it was it the Denver Broncos? Yeah. I don't think I'd have to look that up. I'm not sure if John Elway would have wasted a first-round pick for Tim Tebow. But I mean, the proof is what you've seen. I mean, he's been unable to hang on.
How old is he?
There's always room for guys like that in the WWE. I'm sure that Vince McMahon is trying to figure out a way to get him in the ring, so that he can, capitalize on this publicity, because there always seems like when pro football players are having a slow moment, that's when the WWE calls.
Yeah, that's happened a number of times.
Yep.
So he still has a name. I mean, he still can sell some tickets and garner some interest. So I mean,
how old is he now? He's 30. Is he 31?
Got to be early 30s. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, because that's the problem. You get to be a certain age, and he already tried his hand at baseball.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he could be a backup to the backup quarterback.
If Urban Meyer was not the Jaguars head coach, Tebow might not have even gotten a chance there either. So
it's funny. I wonder, and I don't know exactly, what goes on at the camps. Is he dropping footballs? Is he not blocking the way he's supposed to?
He wasn't good when he was in his prime.
You have over 90 bodies in training camp, and on the depth chart, your top picks get most of the reps. In fact, in practice, your first string guys get almost all the reps, and then there's a few for the second string and a few for the threes. But when you get to be like fourth, fifth string, it's awfully hard to specialize in one position. You got to be thinking of maybe locking on as a special teams guy, and I don't think Tebow really was a special teams guy. He went in as a tight end. So there you have it. I mean, most of these teams are only going to carry maybe 3 tight ends on the team.
Yeah. Do you? It's for some reason this reminds me. Do you ever see the movie Paper Lion?
Sure.
Okay. Yeah. George Plimpton. Alan Alda played George Plimpton in the movie, and it's funny because it's one of those situations where I think it was just kind of a sort of a publicity stunt, or he was writing, and nobody was supposed to know that he was trying out, and finally he kind of makes the team, but it's like at the very end they're so overwhelmingly ahead that it's impossible for the other team to win, and so they put him in for like one play, and I think he gives up a safety or something.
But was that a regular season game, or was that an exhibition game?
It could have been an exhibition game.
And one little trivia note is that George Plimpton was a classmate of my father's.
Oh, really?
Oh, well, yeah. Now there's new information.
So there you go. My dad would talk about George Plimpton every once in a while.
Yeah,
and unlike some minor league baseball teams, the NFL are not into publicity stunts, and it's just too big a business. And all these teams are in the business of winning football games, and you have to have a roster of 53, and these are 53 guys that are expected to help you win games, and then you got another 16 that make up the practice squad. And
well, then you wonder how many, if they're also worried someone's going to get hurt.
Well, there's always these in football. That's the assumption of risk there.
But I mean, is like a publicity stunt, like hey, let's not mess around with this because someone can really get hurt. Versus in baseball, a publicity stunt is usually not going to someone's not going to get hurt.
You're not even in a practice, Edward. I mean, you're just not going to see that.
Plus, the other thing that you have to take into mind is the fact that in football you only have 17 games, so you really can't mess around. Every game is super important. With baseball, you got 162. You can trot someone out there that you can make fun of, or if you lose one game in baseball because you try a publicity stunt, it's not a big deal.
Yeah, these practices are well organized, Edward. I mean, they're down.
Sure they are.
These drills and periods are down, timed and planned down to the second. There's no time for hang on, guys. Let's bring a little Eddie Brown in.
Eddie Goodell.
A little sports econ 101 guy. Hey, just take a snap down the center. Yeah, go ahead.
That's the thing. See, somebody, i.e. me, can get hurt. I guess the biggest publicity type stunt, which really isn't publicity, is like when they do a flea flicker, because they don't do it that often. And it's, I always like those plays because they're kind of fun.
Well, it's a trick play, but
Statue of Liberty play.
Statue of Liberty play, yeah. Remember, it's funny to watch some of those football games where they have, Statue of Liberty, and it's like, the entire team moves to one side. Just all these weird formations that they come up with. I thought that's kind of funny. Let's see. One quick thing here. Will the new name, image, likeness rules that allow college players to earn endorsements lead to cheating recruitments? Like, how about a booster can hire a player to basically do nothing except attend his alma mater?
Well, I mean, a booster. I mean, it's the wild west now. I mean, a booster could just capitalize on somebody's name now. I mean, it's fair game. I mean, you can have John Smith, Dodge, Toyota, and have John Smith, who's a star player on a college football team, show up and use his name as his brand. I mean, you can do that now. You can get away with that now. I don't know how would that lead to cheating?
Well, just being able to use it in. Well, again, there was a time when you weren't supposed to do stuff like that. But now
you can.
Yeah.
So I mean, there's no. What are you gonna do?
All right. Let's see here. We're gonna go to our first. In fact, it reminds me. You ever see the movie One-on-One with Robbie Benson for basketball? It's hard to find that movie, but you've seen all of these ones. But it's basically the same thing. He gets paid in college to just like turn on the sprinklers. Water the lawn. All he has to do is sprinklers. Okay. Here we go. Here's our first trivia question. We're talking random football players.
Okay, goody. Bring it on.
Let's see. All right. I'll give you a kind of a little hint here. Which former Seahawk is the NFL? Now, I don't know how old this is. I don't know if anybody's changed it, but at least as of let's say a couple of years ago, this was still the record. Which former NFL Seahawk player is the career leader in fumbles?
Ooh. Wow.
Yeah. All
right. We've heard of this guy.
And you've heard of this guy. And that is our trivia question. Email edward@sportsecon101.com the answer to this question. Which former Seahawk is the NFL career leader in fumbles? All right. Stay with us.
Seahawk, the NFL career leader in fumbles.
Stay with us.
Was the Seahawks his only team?
I believe so.
Wow, his entire career with the Seahawks.
I think so.
Wow.
I think so. All right, stay with us. Sports Econ 101. Right back. Well, welcome back to Sports Econ 101. I'm Edward Brown, along with Russell Jackman and Mr. Vern Glenn. All right, first trivia question. We're talking random football players here. Which former Seahawk is the NFL career leader in fumbles?
I'm going to go with John Kitna.
John
Kitna. Yeah, I would think it might be a quarterback, but
yes.
Yeah, well, John Kitna was a quarterback, so.
Okay. I thought he was going to say John Cena because he's so used to
wrestling. Yeah, WWE hasn't had him go on to play as a quarterback just yet.
And I think the reason is he was known for having small hands, which will make you fumble more. David Craig.
Oh, number 17, I believe.
Yeah.
Didn't know he had a career long enough to become the highest fumble.
Well, he fumbled every other snap probably, so that's what kind of.
If you hadn't said Seahawk, I would have said Tony Banks because I know he was a fumble machine.
Yeah, because it's funny. I mean, you think, well, maybe it's a running back, but then as Vern says, actually, quarterback. He's a person.
I figured it was that, but Dave Craig. Wow.
David Craig. All right, so now just for fun, earlier I mentioned a certain character named Rube Waddell, born in 1866, and he was a pitcher, and he was a pretty darn good pitcher, but he died early. And I'm trying to remember how he died. I mean, he was definitely an alcoholic. Not sure if that's what he died from. So this guy's antics, and I'm wondering why we don't have another character like him, be it baseball, football, or whatever. So he would do things like this. He would leave in the middle of a game to chase a fire truck. He just loved fire trucks. So, he would also ask his players to leave the field so he could strike the other team out. It's like, sort of like the king in his court in softball.
Oh, okay.
Sort of like, hey guys, I got this. Everyone can leave the field. I'm just going to strike these guys out.
Wow.
And also, one time he decided in the middle of an inning he'd rather go fishing, so he just up and left.
Well, he must have had a lot of money because in today's game, he just went AWOL on the team. Boy, there's a fine. There's a suspension.
Yeah.
Leaving to chase a fire truck. I don't know where you would see a fire truck and be distracted to leave because these are closed stadiums, so you can't.
Well, again, we're talking the 1800s.
Yeah.
The 1800s, early 1900s. So,
Yeah, 1800. Yeah, those are open air glorified parks. You know, they would play these games on.
In fact, it's funny because if you look at some of the old photos going back to the late 1800s, sometimes you actually see fans in the outfield.
Yeah,
really strange, you know. And I don't know, I'd never talk about like or watching film of you know, if there was any interference, but I wouldn't be surprised, you know.
well, I'm sure there was. I mean, if you want to, go way back, like before gloves, where you would feel the ball and then just throw at the runner, and the runner is out, you hit him in the back or the head or whatever. I mean, I'm sure there were fatalities.
And in fact, that
injuries.
that was one of Rube Waddell's issues, is he had to learn, like, don't throw it at the player. And in fact, Ken Burns did a pretty good job of the history of baseball, and you learn things like originally home plate was a steel plate. Can you imagine like sliding into that? And I mean, all these injuries.
Slide.
Yeah. I'm not sliding. I'm not doing it.
Wow.
Yeah, it just really crazy. In fact, there was a time when I think it was 9 balls would get you a walk. I mean, they changed those kinds of changes. There's been a lot of odd changes like that.
And just think of the uniforms back then. They'll get just glorified burlap bags.
Oh,
in the hot sun.
It just makes me, you know, hot and sticky just thinking.
Yeah.
Of it. All right, guys. So we got football starting here, huh?
Starting. We're in the flow.
The fifth quarter is back.
Yeah, that's right.
We're in the playoffs already. What?
The fifth quarter is back.
Fifth quarter is back. That's right.
He's referencing KPIX's post-game show after these NFL games. KPIX is the flagship station of the 49ers preseason games. And after these games, we have the Toyota fifth quarter show, where yours truly comes on with Lorenzo Neal, an NFL fullback for 16 seasons. And we talk about what we see, we do player interviews, and have a lot of fun.
So you're doing the pre-games. Who's carrying the regular season?
KPI. Oh, the regular season? Yeah. That's when it all changes. Once the preseason ends, our agreement with the 49ers ends. In fact, the agreement with the Raiders in this market, Cron carries the Raider games, even though they're in Las Vegas. They're preseason games. But once the preseason's over, it goes back to the traditional CBS with the AFC package and Fox with the NFC package. Okay. And then you have NBC and a couple of other networks that will NBC has Sunday Night Football, and so they get to kind of pick the best matchups once the season starts. And those will be your Sunday night games. So that's kind of how that works. So once the preseason ends, we, as in KPIX, we then pick up the AFC team that garners the most interest in this market, and it is still the Las Vegas Raiders.
I would think so. I mean,
following.
Yeah, and then the Bay Area hasn't.
Then the 49ers, they'll be on the local Fox station. That would be KTVU.
Okay. Yeah, you got to figure
works.
There's still a lot of Raider fans that, you know, they're not giving up. It's even
more than a lot. I mean, this is even though they're in Las Vegas, you can make an argument from a fan standpoint. The Bay Area is still pretty much ground zero. Bay Area and even the Los Angeles area are ground zero for Raider following.
Yeah, when they moved in 1994, I think it was. I can't remember what year they moved.
1994, they came back to the Bay Area from Los Angeles, right?
Yeah, because I remember
they even trained in El Segundo and flew up for the games.
Gotcha. Because I remember that, you know, we were all us Bay Area Raider fans were just very, very upset when they went to LA. For some reason, them going to Las Vegas doesn't have the same angst. And I don't know if I'm the only one.
People really saw it coming in Oakland the second time around. Oakland just wasn't a good fit. And, you know, for so many years that Oakland, you know, had been fighting the Raiders for money and they were, you know, the silver and blacked out for so many years. You know,
Yeah.
it and also, you know, for a lot of folks, they haven't been able to go to Raiders games for the last 2 years, so I don't think they miss them as much as they would. You know, they've been watching them on TV so much that it's not such a big deal that they moved to Las Vegas. Plus,
Yeah.
you know,
Right.
other, you know, fans that really love the Raiders can go to Vegas for a weekend and come back. So it's football is easier to follow that way if you just go once a week, kind of thing, than if you know, it's baseball or a basketball team.
Although I will tell you, I still get calls, I get emails every week from Oakland Raider fans, still upset over what happened, and still just fighting for any pieces of information we can get to pass on to what they're doing in Las Vegas. And the Raiders still have their old facility over off of Doolittle Drive over in Alameda. So what's going to become of it, I don't know, but the Raiders still own it. And
the Raiders are not coming back this time around. I don't think they're ever coming back.
No, they're not going to come back. The city of Oakland has had their financial issues, be it with education, with the day-to-day operations of that government. There's just, the city's out of money. The city just did not have those hundreds of millions of dollars to spend on a football stadium for essentially 10 games a year. They just can't do it. There's just too many other things that are of a priority to that city.
Do you think the A's are going to head out too?
No, I think the A's are going to stay in Oakland. Somehow, some way, I figure they're going to work that out. We're talking about half of 162 regular season games, plus a smattering of other games, and there's still a strong support for him. It's just a matter of
you know, I put that in quotes because the strong support part. You know, over the weekend with the Giants playing the A's, I saw at least half that stadium filled with Giants fans.
Yeah, and it'll continue to be that because it's so expensive to go to these games. And I'm kind of echoing the family of four where both parents work and throughout the East. It's just hard to get to these games. Geez, the A's, as we record this show, the A's the previous night had 4,100 people at the game. 4,100 people for the Royals game.
Well, that almost.
I'm sorry, the Seattle game.
Yeah, it was 1,100, I think, for Tampa Bay one time. That's pretty nasty. Hey, guys,
yeah.
To our second commercial trivia question here. We're talking random football players. In the San Francisco 49ers dynasty years, Joe Montana had two backups who would eventually become NFL starters. Steve Young was one of them. Name the other.
Oh, I know this one.
You know this one? All right.
Yep.
So that's our trivia question. Email Edward at SportsEcon101 the answer. And don't touch that dial. We are going to be right back. Well, welcome back to Sports Econ 101. One more time. I'm Edward Brown, your host, along with Vern Glenn and Russell Jackman. Second trivia question. In the San Francisco 49ers dynasty years, Joe Montana had two backups who would eventually become NFL starters. Steve Young was one of them. Name the other. Mr. Jackman, what's the answer?
Yeah, don't step on his blue suede shoes. Elvis Gerbach.
That's not correct. I'm sorry.
No. It's the guy that Joe Montana took over for. I think he left and then became an NFL quarterback.
Steve Bono?
Yes.
No.
Okay.
Yeah. Steve Bono.
It's Bono. Okay.
Steve Bono.
Well, what about Gerbach? Gerbach was also a backup quarterback that became.
Yeah, but Joe was gone.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Joe was gone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Matt Cavanaugh never became a starter anywhere. He was just always a backup, wasn't he?
Yeah.
I think so. I liked him. I thought he was pretty decent. So, Vern, let me ask you, when you say you get a bunch of emails every week, I mean, I got to think some of them are just, hey, you're the greatest.
No.
No?
Oh, no. It's why don't you show more Raider highlights? It's these are people that were, hurt that they left. I mean, just look at everything that's gone. Ricky Sports Lounge, that's gone. I mean, there's so many old school Raiders fans that are still upset and still around, that don't care about the politics of it all. They've just seen that their football team leave again.
I'm just waiting to see Jim Otto get another chance. So they would. The email would be, Vern, you would be the greatest if you showed more Vegas or some more Raider highlights.
Well, they'll get their fill this weekend when the Raiders play the 49ers in preseason.
Yeah, the first time in 10 years the two have played against each other in preseason.
Well, the thing is, though, you don't really even get to choose yourself what to air, right? I mean, doesn't the station tell you how much time to give to this, that sort of thing?
No, we govern ourselves in the sports department.
Okay.
We have X amount of time, and then we fill that time with what we deem is necessary based on who our audience is and what they want to see. You got to know your audience. You got to satisfy your base. You don't satisfy your base, then you got problems.
Yeah, and I guess a lot of that base is still old Raider, fans. But there's other. I mean, the thing is too, when you're showing highlights of other games, I mean, we all want to see that. A fantastic, Odell Beckham catch, that sort of thing.
The spectacular play. Yeah, we'll always show that. But at the same time, we're not ESPN Sports Center, and we don't nearly have. We have a fraction of the time there. I mean, that is an entertainment and sports programming network.
Yeah.
And we're CBS.
How much time do they allot you for your?
In the framework of a regular newscast?
Yeah.
Depends on the show. If it's an early show, we say like the 5 or 6 o'clock newscast. Yeah. That's relatively a half hour. So we get maybe 3 minutes out of that half hour. Yeah. Now, when I say half hour, you've got 22 minutes of content and 8 minutes of commercials. So you got to take those 22 minutes and split it up with 2 blocks of news, a block of weather, and a block of sports.
Yeah, and the thing
That's how it works.
With all the political turmoil and stuff that's going on in Afghanistan or wherever.
Well, those are what we like to call A block stories. Yeah. That's we do that to a smaller degree because that's what we have the network news for. Nora O'Donnell, who's our lead network anchor for the CBS Evening News. Now they can handle all that Afghanistan stuff, ad nauseum. But for us, we're a local Bay Area news station. So there's tons of local stories that we deliver day in and day out per show.
Okay, so you generally are not going to get preempted, your segment.
When I say a newscast preempted, it's very rare.
Well, or the sports part of the broadcast.
In a newscast?
Yeah.
Only if it's an abbreviated one because the president is speaking.
Yeah.
Or we've got a game or something like that. But even when we air a game, there's usually a special newscast preceding that game or a newscast right after that game is over.
Well, if there's a game, then they definitely have to have some aspect of your show, of your portion of the show.
Sure. Yeah.
I'm just wondering, do you ever show up to work, get ready, and then they go, Vern, you can go home because we got preempted? Or do you have to work on something else?
Yeah, we've built entire post-game shows that have been blown out because the game went to overtime.
Mm.
And when it gets past a certain time, the network, I mean, if our show is 8:30 to 9 p.m. following a game that started at 5 and it goes to overtime, I mean, these are live telecasts.
Yeah.
So we're just kind of dictated by that. So if the game goes to overtime and the game, by the time the game ends and the networks have done their own post-game analysis of what happened, if the out time is 8:57, they're not going to throw to us to fill 2 minutes to the top of the hour. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So they'll just fill to the top of the hour, and then we don't have a show.
You got to get the same producers who did the Heidi game.
In fact, it just happened. We had 49ers and Chargers on Sunday night. The game went long, and so our fifth quarter post game show got blown out because for reasons of time, but we still had to do our Sunday night game day show.
Yeah.
And so we had a lot of those elements that were planned for the post game show in the game day show, because we went heavy 49ers based on our viewership and market.
I gotta think sometimes things for you will be a little bit more relaxed, and then other times it's going to be because of like a little bit of overtime or whatever, and suddenly it's like crunch time and you have to kind of fit everything. And
this is television, Edward. You're never relaxed.
Okay.
This is live television. I mean, we don't tape and go home. We don't record something and sit down and eat bonbons and with our feet on our head. No, these are live broadcasts.
I guess
so
relaxed
it's never relaxed.
Let's put it this way: more stressed than other times.
There are degrees of stress, some higher than others, but
in fact,
it's never relaxed.
So you guys were too young for this, and actually I was a little too young too to remember it. But the Heidi game, obviously,
sure, yeah, that was the Jets and the Raiders, 1968.
Yeah.
The Jets were ahead, and the switcher back in those days, everything was run through New York, and so Heidi was the scheduled movie for that particular Sunday night, and the guy was at work and he did exactly what he was supposed to do. At 8 o'clock,
switch.
we air Heidi, and so the end of there was no time to radio ahead, call the guy, and extend it the time. There was none of that, and so Heidi went on. And while Heidi was on, the Raiders came back and won that game. And in fact, Kirk Gowdy was the announcer for the networks for that game. They're like, Gowdy, get back here. We have to finish this game. And so so the rest of the broadcast was recorded for I guess for posterity. And that's how we were able to actually see video of actually what happened. The Raiders come back to win that game. But yeah, forever known as the Heidi game, because hey, that movie went on as planned. And I
if I remember correctly, they had to hide the identity of the guy who did the switch, call it, because people were so upset after watching.
Well, can you imagine?
Yeah. And wasn't it a playoff game?
I think it was a regular season game.
Regular season.
It may have had playoff implications.
Yeah.
But it was way before you could get on the internet to find out who won.
Yeah, or DVR.
In fact, I'd like to see somebody's face if you just went up to them in 1968 and went, "Hey, the internet." You probably get a blank stare. What?
Yeah. I know. I do this sometimes.
Have you been drinking, son? Internet. What is that?
Well, sometimes I look at cartoons or whatever, or not cartoons, or comic strips, and I think people, these things we laugh at today, but 50, 100 years ago, people would say, I have no idea what you're talking about. A laptop or e-commerce or whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
Funny. Let's see. There's been some streaks in baseball. What the Yankees are kind of making a big comeback, and some other teams have been like in the doldrums.
Yeah, the Yankees have made a comeback. I mean, there have been several. The Astros won on an 11-game roll. The Dodgers won on a 9-game roll. I mean, there's teams that have been kind of on the mend, and then there are other teams like the
Orioles,
San Diego Padres, who've gone the other way.
And the Cubs and the Orioles, same thing. They may have just broken the streak, but they were.
Yeah, there are some teams that have gone the other way and have had their issues. Poor Orioles. I grew up an Orioles fan.
I know.
What's happened to that franchise is just blasphemy.
Bring back Earl
My
Weaver.
favorite player growing up was Brooks Robinson. My first baseball glove was a Brooks Robinson third baseman glove.
You know what? I think mine was too, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
You go to Memorial Stadium right before they built Camden Yards and saw Cal Ripken Jr. hit a home run. So I have that
There you go.
Oh yeah, no. See, I remember, Brooks Robinson, Frank Robinson, Paul Blair, Boog Powell.
Boog Powell. In fact, did you know? And again, this is a kind of a Bay Area thing. Did you know that Boog Powell hit the first home run at the Oakland Coliseum when it opened in 1968? I did not know that.
But I mean, the
and Rick Monday was the first Oakland A.
And I saw that
homer when the new Coliseum opened.
And that's the memory I have. He won it I think it was the bottom of the ninth, to send us all home. Yeah,
he walked it off. Nice.
Yeah, and again, it was was it 68 or 67?
68 was the first year of the Oakland Athletics.
Okay, so I was.
They had moved over from Kansas City.
Kansas City. Bert Karen Panera, Sal Bando. I remember all those guys. I was 8 years old, and he was like my mini hero then. Because I mean, to finally have a team in Oakland was awesome. Because Kansas was always a challenging place. Let's put it that way.
They brought out the stars for that game. Then Governor Ronald Reagan threw out the first pitch. They had Miss America show up. It was a big time deal.
Yeah. Now that stadium is 55 years old or whatever. Yeah, that's tough. Okay, so here's our third trivia question. Talking random football players. In Super Bowl 30, Neil O'Donnell threw 2 key interceptions to cement the win for the Dallas Cowboys. Which Dallas Cowboy was the recipient of both of these passes and also the MVP award winner?
And then the Raiders picked him up as a free agent.
Oh, so you must know the answer to that. All right. Stay with us. Sports Econ 101. We'll be right back with some closing comments. Welcome back to Sports Econ 101. Last time for today, I'm Edward Brown, your host, along with Vern Glenn and Russell Jackman. Super Bowl 30, which would have been, 1997? Something like that, one of those years. Neil O'Donnell threw 2 key interceptions. I guess he played for Pittsburgh back then, right?
He did.
2 key interceptions to cement the win for the Dallas Cowboys. Which Dallas Cowboy was the recipient of both of these passes and also the MVP award?
Fellow with the last name of Brown. Yeah, was it Larry Brown?
Larry Brown.
Larry Brown.
Yeah.
And then Al Davis went out and got him because Davis fell in love with the Stars, wanted the star appeal for his team, and he went out and got Larry Brown, came over to the Raiders, and they sunk like a lead balloon.
He did nothing. He did
absolutely nothing for the Raiders. Yep.
Wow.
But made a lot of money.
Even David Tyree laughs at him. Tyree laughs at him
really? That's too bad.
For a guy that has, a shining moment in the Super Bowl and then nothing after that.
2 interception game. That was something.
Yeah. Well, so bring back Lester Hayes with the Stickum.
Lester the Molester.
Lester, yeah. All right. Are you guys ready for our thoughts for the day?
There you go.
Never.
Okay. Never. Yeah. What do you call 2 birds stuck together?
Something tweet.
Velcros.
Velcros. Nice.
Okay.
Nice. It's a good dad joke. Yeah.
That one's good. Yeah. And then this one here. When I was younger, they used to time me with a stopwatch. Now they use a calendar.
Oh.
So I've slowed down just a little bit.
That's slow. Okay.
All right, guys. It's been fun. Loved it. We'll be back again next week. So stay tuned or tune in next week to Sports Econ 101. We'll be discussing sports topics from a business perspective and asking more sports trivia questions. Thanks for listening. On behalf of our team, I'm your host, Edward Brown. We'll see you next week.
Good night.
So long.